Hey Bill, we can definitely give you some tips to clean up that backside 720. Back sevens are probably the trick I spent the most time on, for just one of the most important fundamental tricks for like building up to bigger tricks, and it's really the pinnacle of like all the forms you need up to a 7. So what's going on here is mostly coming from your takeoff. So the thing that you're probably not feeling too stoked about is how you're feeling in the air. You're feeling a little controlled, you're disconnected, and you're not going and being able to like get a grab or just feel control coming to a landing. That's all stemming from one place, and that's your takeoff. It's this posture right here. I've been calling this the question mark posture. It's when your body goes down and forms a little like question mark. I'm very bad at drawing, so it's a very rough question mark, but basically we need to go and try to get this bent over form into a straight up line. The straighter you are on the takeoff for a backside spin, the better, because it's going to put you on a better axis. When you're corking and throwing down on the takeoff like this, it's going to go and make it so you're off balanced in the air. So here, you're not as off balance as you could be, and that's why it's like almost working. You can get it around. But the reason why you're not able to get a grab or do it consistently is because this axis rotation is what I like calling a double axis. So that's where you're rotating on one axis and you like have your spot, everything's set in place, but this axis wouldn't have actually brought you to your feet. If you continued on it, you'd land on your back. So what you need to do is disconnect your upper and lower body and start fighting the rotation in order to get to your feet, causing you to do two different axes. Your axis off the takeoff versus your axis coming into the landing. And that's what we can see here. After 360, you go and let go and reshuffle yourself around. So we're going to go and give you the steps how to fix that, and it's all in this takeoff. So first, let's look at the setup carve. Setup carve is where we always want to start. And you're getting on your toe edge at a decent time, but you could delay this just a little bit. You're leaving right off a good edge, so that's not your biggest issue here. So if that's the setup carve that feels comfortable, I wouldn't really bother changing it too much, but it might be slightly easier if you just delay this motion like a board length or two. Then from there, what we really need to fix is your wind up here is good, but see how you start rounding and throwing down? So your front arm starts dropping and then it's finishing at your kneecaps. So we need this to be on a horizontal plane. So these arms right here need to stay at this spot for the full duration of the snap. Because right now you're dropping them and you can see that your hands are, instead of staying right at your chest, for dropping all the way down to your knees. So I'm going to go and compare a couple of my backside sevens off 3 different jumps, and then we'll be able to go and use that as a little bit of a reference. And then after that, I'm going to go and show you what you can do to practice this off the mountain. So here, first back 7, this one's off a bigger jump, so it's not going to be as accurate, but we're still going to use it because I'm really happy with how this takeoff worked. So first of all, you can see I'm waiting to transition to my toes until I get around the spoon of the jump. Just makes the trick easier. The next thing I want you to keep in mind is the wind up. I'm waiting to do the wind up until I'm fully like, oh sorry, I rewound too much. I'm waiting to do the wind up until I'm fully on my toes. So you can see winding up, and not until I'm like halfway up the jump am I wound up. You don't want to be holding your wound up position any longer than necessary. So your wind up should be finishing right before you snap. Just makes it easier to hold and makes it so there's less time falling. And the biggest thing to pay attention to here is, sorry, let me just lower the quality so I can go and shift this frame by frame. That's very low, but it will do. Is this. So even though my throw is slightly leaned over, and that's because I'm using a bit too much edge pressure, it's still in a straight line. So instead of going and having like a question mark form, my body is going straight, 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 sort of like a lightning bolt. And that's going to put you on a much better axis rotation, because then when I come off the lip, you can see I'm on a lot flatter of a plane, and the most important thing is my axis rotation is consistent for the full thing. I don't need to readjust my axis here. Again here, we're going to just pause it right on the takeoff. So throwing, and look at how high my arm is. Instead of having my arm down over here by the knees, my throw is a lot flatter, keeping my throw a lot more towards my torso. This one's a little bit to the hips, and that's why we're seeing a little bit of a cork here, because it's down a little bit. So that's the thing. It's okay to have your throw go and dip down a little bit, But the thing is, you want to go and minimize it as much as you can, and you need to go and make sure that if it's happening, it's not because of curving in the spine. So here's a really good look. My back's completely straight, and as I'm throwing, my arms are staying up around that middle part of my torso. And that's letting me get a full extension out of the spine. Just getting that full straight line through the spine, and that's going to go and just set you up on a really good axis to continue the same rotation through the full spin. We're going to go here. I'm going to rewind it here. You can see it on the trampoline doing exactly the same thing, staying completely flat, strong in the core, snapping. And that's a great way to practice this is if you have a trampoline, go do some back sevens on it. And I just want you to pay attention to my arm positioning and straightness of my back when we rewatch these 3 clips, because I'm trying as hard as I can to keep my back completely straight, core tight, and snapping on that horizontal plane. And that's really the motion that you're missing here, and the only thing that we want to focus on, because everything in the air isn't really something you need to work on. You have good control, you're good at getting back to your feet. Your only issue is this takeoff is not setting you up for success. This trick is all deciding on takeoff, so if you're making an obvious error in the air, like disconnect, double spotting, we would address it, but you're really not. You're like in the air, core control, everything's tight, your spot's in as good of a position as it could be with this axis. Over here, you're looking over your shoulder, but that's because you're trying to fight it around. Because on an ideal backside 720, your spot, sorry, I need to go back one more frame. You're spotting like here, eyes on the knuckle, and then you're holding that spot the whole time. Where here, because you need to change your axis, you start reaching around over your shoulder, and that's causing a core extension, causing you to get all not tight and disconnected. But that's all coming from the axis rotation, so we just need to go and get this form, keeping it off the takeoff. Because you have a straight spine, it's just right as you leave off the takeoff, you bend down, starting to go and hinge at the hips. So this is actually more like a little L, but question mark thing applies. So I'm going to now go and show you how you can practice this and what you want to be thinking about. So when you're doing a back 7, you really don't want to be going and trying to throw power down into a spin. Instead, lock everything up. Think of it as like having a pull in your back. So if you are going and having your throw down a little bit, it's because your whole body's tilted forward. That's where cork's coming in from that. Still, you want to try go straight up, hips forward, tight, everything strong. A really good tip for this is flexing the glutes. When you flex your glutes, it's really hard to bend at the back or break at the waist. So flex your glutes, stay tight, and just practice extending like this. Just getting that full range of motion. Open, extend. So I'm tightening my glutes, keeping everything tight, so when I throw, it's going to continue this way. Because what that's going to do is it's going to set us up so when we're at 270, we can go, grab, and tuck into a spin, tuck into a spot, and the axis of rotation will pull us around. Where if you're going and throwing down, what happens is you're getting a bit of a whoop motion. So you're going down, what's causing your rotation to come up, making it so you need to let go and try reach around like this to finish the spin. So I'll just demonstrate what you're doing one more time and then the proper form. So if you throw down, causes you to be here, and then you need to go and reach around like this, making it so it's disconnected. Where if you go, keep everything flat, strong, throw through, that will let you go spot at 270, and then since you're on a flat axis that's going off a jump, you can tuck in and commit to it. So keep working on that, practice it off a mountain. If you have a trampoline, that can really help. And just focus on that straight back. Work on your 360s, work on your 540s, get videos of it, because if you're making this mistake even slightly on a 360 or a 540, it's going to be emphasized when you start to put more power into your spins. Because the back 7, everything in the air, everything after that, that's just all extra things you can do to spice it up. Really, you just need to dial in that takeoff, keep your back much straighter, much stronger, and activate those glutes, and it's going to make the back 7 way easier for you.